Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys had an amazing Christmas and a happy new year. It's 2019! That's so crazy. I don't know why. Like, pretty soon it's gonna be 2020 and that's totally gonna freak me out. But anyway, I'm back. Welcome back to my channel. I feel like I've been gone for a while. If you haven't seen my Christmas video, I actually dressed Brandy up for Christmas. I decorated her, so if you haven't seen that video, I will leave it linked down below. Initially, this video was supposed to be about lunging and exposure, but I realized that if I did that, this video would be extremely long. So instead, I decided to separate it into two parts, and this video is gonna be just about lunging. Before I start exposing my horse to different environments or scenarios, I want to make sure that I can get some control on the ground and that I'm able to get her attention back on me in case anything happens. At barrel races or shows or trail parks, there's a lot going on. There's tractors driving around, horses being warmed up, trailers driving by, announcers, banners, like it's a lot. And even though we've done a lot of preparation, which I'll leave those videos linked down below, if you guys want to see our whole training process up to this point, I've decided to number them so you guys know in what order I did everything. Anyway, even though we've done a lot of preparation, there's still a chance that she can spook or panic, and I want to make sure that I'm able to bring her back down, get her attention back on me, gain some control, and that's what I use lunging for. Eventually, in the future, if we start showing or barrel racing or anything like that, I would obviously use it as a warm-up method, but for right now, I just use it to get her attention back on me and to remind her of her cues. I honestly prefer round penning. Like, if I had to choose between lunging or round penning, I would 100% choose round penning. I feel like you guys have seen me round pen a bunch of times in a bunch of my videos, but lunging is great for when you're away from your barn or if you don't have access to a round pen. But yeah, so that's what this video is going to be. I'm going to show you guys how I taught Brandy how to lunge. Out of everything I taught Brandy, lunging was the one thing I truly struggled with. I made a couple mistakes and it was just a mess. So if you guys want to see what my mistake was and how I fixed it, keep watching. If you're excited about this video, please give it a thumbs up, you guys. Seriously, it helps me out so much, and it also helps other people find this video if they're struggling with some of these issues. If you're new, hi, my name is Cindy Valentina. Please subscribe if you haven't already. All you gotta do is just click that red subscribe button and that's it. Okay, let's go ahead and get on into this video. Alright, you guys, so out of Brandy's whole training process, lunging was the one thing I truly struggled to teach her. Instead of walking around me for the lunge, every time I would ask her for it, she would just turn her butt away from me. So the whole time, I'm standing in the middle and she's just turning her butt away from me instead of walking around. I was so frustrated, she was so frustrated, and I couldn't understand why she didn't understand what I was asking her to do. So basically, let me demonstrate what she was doing. Alright, let's say that she's me, right? What I wanted her to do was basically walk around me like this, right? That's what lunging is, right? But instead, I would ask her to go, right? And technically, I would start walking around like this. She would just do this. Again, I would ask her to go and she'd just do this. You know, like that. So she'd keep her head towards me the whole time and just move her hind end away from me. She looked like a clock. And I was so frustrated, I didn't understand. I'm like, why isn't she getting it? Like, what the heck am I doing wrong? And she was frustrated too because she didn't understand what I was asking her to do. The thing was, I didn't teach her how to lunge. I just assumed that she knew it. Obviously, I did do some exercises and stuff like that, but when it came to actually starting the lunge, I kind of just assumed she would do it, and I just kind of, like, you know, directed her, put some pressure on that hind end. But it turns out I skipped a step. A really important step when it comes to lunging. Luckily, Rob's a trainer, so whenever I have a question, I can always ask him. And that's what ended up being the issue. I skipped a step. And I've actually received so many comments from you guys and messages and emails telling me that you have issues lunging your horse as well. And some of you actually described the same problem I was having with her. So hopefully you guys can learn from my mistake. I skipped an essential step to initiate the lunge. That's why when I would ask her for it, she thought I was asking her to move her hind quarters. I didn't teach her how to move her shoulder away from me. So the whole time when I'm asking her to go, she's moving her hind end instead of moving her shoulder as well. So that's step one. So I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate all the steps we took to finally get our lunge going. Okay, so the first step was teaching her to move her shoulder away from me. Now to do that, I just used my halter with the lead rope. So I placed my right hand right at the bottom of her halter where it meets the lead rope, and with my right hand, I'm gonna push her face away from me while using my left hand with the end of the lead rope to swing and apply pressure to that shoulder. And as soon as she steps away from me, I'm gonna release all of the pressure. I'm gonna face my body to that shoulder. I'm gonna start clicking. If she doesn't move with my click, then I'll gently swing my lead rope. Right hand pushes her face away from me. I'm gonna click. There you go. Like that. As soon as she does that, I stop everything. The sliding is terrible. There's like shadows and stuff. I think that's better. Okay, so I grab her halter, I push her face away from me and apply pressure to that shoulder. Good. As soon as she steps away, I stop. Again. She steps away, I stop. Now, eventually, the goal is to have her move away with just slight body pressure and no longer have to push her face away from me. And I'm not hitting her with the lead rope. I'm just swinging it a little bit to encourage her to move away from it. You can also use a crop or a whip. So with this, I would just do the same thing, place my hand on her halter, and with the end of the lunge whip, I just tap. As soon as she steps away, I release. Did I even get that on camera? I'm just gonna hold her halter, move her face away from me, and tap that shoulder. As soon as she steps, I release. I never use the lunge whip. I just kind of prefer to use my lead rope. It works the same way. But yeah, now that she's older, I hold the pressure a little bit more until she crosses her legs. When she was younger, I honestly didn't care. As long as she was moving away from me, I released everything. That was good enough. But now that she's older, I do want her to cross her inside leg over her outside leg when she's moving away from me, just to have a good foundation for a future side pass. We've practiced this a lot and she knows it already. So I think she's gonna do it on the first try. Usually if she doesn't do it, I just hold the pressure until she crosses and then release. So even if she's moving away from me, I still hold that pressure until she crosses. Good. Good girl. So that is the first step and the step I skipped. Because I didn't teach that, every time I asked her to go, she just assumed I was asking her to move her hind end because she didn't know that she had to move her shoulder as well. And once we figured that out, the rest was a breeze. Now we're gonna move on to step 2. Now before letting her do far lunging circles, I wanted to do small circles around me first. I'm just gonna ask her for small circles around me by first moving her shoulder away from me and then applying pressure to that hind end to get that forward motion. Move her shoulder, and now I'm applying pressure to that hind end to get her to walk around me. Teaching her to move her shoulder away from me was also very important because that's how you move them away from you when they're getting too close at the lunge. Now this is where I teach her how to keep her head to the inside. When we're lunging, I always want slack in my rope. I don't want her pulling me around, dragging me everywhere. I like to teach that at a small distance first. So what I do is just lightly tug on the lead rope until she gives me her head, and then I release. So I bump, she gives me her head, and I release the lead rope. Bump, she gives me her head, and then I release. Bump, and then release. Making sure I have slack in the lead rope is so important to me because I don't want to be dragged around, having them take off with me or anything like that. At first, it's a constant tug and release. Now she's starting to understand and she does it on her own, and that's my goal. I want her to keep her head on the inside on her own, which she's gotten way better at. She does it on her own most of the time. So I always want slack in the lead rope, and that carries on to trotting and loping. And of course, I always do the same thing on both sides. Now, once I felt like she understood what I was asking her to do and she was giving me that slack in the rope, I went ahead and let her get further and further away from me. I would just kind of give her more and more slack. I wouldn't do it all at once. I'd work on the same exercises at each distance. So I would let her get a little bit further away from me and continue the tug and release. So once I felt like she was doing good at this distance, I would give her more rope, still working on the exercises. Once I felt like she did good, again, I'd give her more rope. Again, she's doing good, more rope. And before you know it, we were lunging. Now, once I felt like she did everything really well at a walk, we moved on to a trot. Because I did so much work in the round pen, she knows all her cues. So now it was just about making sure she listened to them at the lunge as well. Let's go ahead and ask her for the trot. And her cue for a trot is just a cluck, like. I also have to be aware of where I'm applying pressure. To ask her to increase her speed, I like to reference my belly button. I kind of face my belly button towards her hip and apply pressure in that area when I want her to increase her speed. So when I ask her for the trot, I start to apply pressure with my body. I use my cue, which is the cluck, and then if she doesn't move with that, I apply pressure with the lead rope. The moment she starts trotting or doing the gait that I asked for, I release everything. Now when we first started doing the trot, I would just use my lunge whip, but now that we've worked on it a lot and we've practiced, I just use my lead rope. But when I was first teaching her this, I would use my lunge whip. And again, I work on the things I worked on at a walk. Still still, I'm tugging on the rope when she pulls away from me. As you can see, there's some places where the rope tightens up. That's maybe because she's near her friends or she wants to go further in that direction. I just apply pressure to that lead rope, and as soon as she gives me her head, I release it. And the goal is for her to always keep her head on the inside. Eventually, I don't want to have to tug and release all the time. But since she's just learning, it is a constant sometimes. Like, that's good. As you can see, there's slack here. It tightens up. There's slack, slack, slack. It's gonna tighten up here. Again, I bring her head back in. A trick I like to do to make sure I'm not being dragged around everywhere is plant my foot, make a mark in the ground. Let's say I put my foot right here. I don't want to move from this spot. I don't want to be the one moving wherever she wants to go. So to make sure I'm not being dragged everywhere, I kind of just plant my foot and keep it there. To stop her, I just disengage her hindquarters. But now that she's older, I'm trying to teach her how to change directions while trotting without stopping her. So let's see how she does. We haven't worked on it in a while, but let's see. As you can see, there's slack in the rope, which is what I want. So good girl. As you can tell, we still need some practice with that. But she's slowly getting it. Now, when it comes to the lope, I do like to use my lunge line. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I've been using just my halter and lead rope. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch to my actual lunge line. Okay, so also when it comes to loping, I like to use my lunge whip instead of the end of the rope, just because I don't want her doing small circles at the lope, just to protect her legs. I don't want her doing it if she doesn't have to. Sorry, there's an airplane. So instead of using the end of the rope, I kind of give her as much rope as possible and use my lunge whip instead. She's on the lazy side, so what we've been working on now is actually trying to get the lope on the first cue. Well, you guys know this, I talked about it before. That's kind of what we're working on with everything, not just the lope, making sure she picks up those gaits on the first cue. And again, I do everything I've done before at the trot, at the walk, in the lope as well. That's why I do the lope last, to make sure she understands everything before we add speed, because of course once you add speed, they get excited and hyper and it's kind of hard to get their attention on you. So I like to make sure they know everything before we move on to a further distance and increase the speed. I like to end on a good note, so I only stop when they give me a nice, smooth, collected lope. Like if they're acting all crazy and pulling on the lunge line and all that stuff, I continue to lunge her until she gives me at least one good circle with no head throwing, no pulling around, no bucking or tail swishing or anything like that. Once she gives me that nice, calm lope, I stop to end on a good note. As you can tell, there was a lot of whip swinging and kissing and all that stuff. Because she is on the lazy side, it does take me a lot to get her going, and that's what I really really want to work on. Like, that's something that I need to practice with her a lot, because I don't want to have to do all that, you know, to get her to go. I want her to go on the first kiss. I don't want to have to swing a million times and kiss a million times to get her to go. But she's still young, we're still learning, and so far she's done really good. That's just one of those things we need to work on. Besides that, she does everything really well. She has her moments, obviously. Even at the lope, I still want slack in the lead rope. I want calm, collected lopes. When she gives me that, that's when I stop. So let's go ahead and do the other direction and see how she does. Girl. Oh. Good job. That side was much better. As you can tell, I had to do less swinging of the lunge whip. There was a lot of slack in the lunge line. She did really well, and she kept the gait. When we did the other direction, she kept on going back to the trot. That's why I had to do all the kissing and clucking and all that stuff. But she did really well this time. Good job. Again, I'm not hitting her with the lunge whip. I don't know if you can tell on camera. I'm just swinging it in the air. Bless you. I'm just swinging it in the air to encourage her to go. Don't whip your horses, you guys. And yeah, I think that's it for this video. I shared with you guys my mistake, how I fixed it, and maybe that could help you guys if you're doing the same thing I did. We still need to practice this a lot, but I'm really happy with her and how far she's come so far. We need to do some lunging, some more lunging. I always work in the round pen, so we do need to practice more when it comes to lunging. But yeah. Alright you guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped you out if you were struggling with some similar issues. We're getting so close to riding. I think there's just 3 videos left in my Starting Brandy series, so I'm excited. Anyway, please give this video a thumbs up. Please click that red subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!